For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Today I'm giving you a review video on a product from Isabella. So with me here today I've got the Isabella Commodore. So the Isabella Commodore is basically available in kind of two colours to start with. It's something very different to kind of your sort of full awning. So again, it's more of a full awning from Isabella, designed to be seasonal, and it's very much, when we say seasonal, it's very much sort of January to January. We've done different videos on kind of Isabella's collection, which you can check on our YouTube channel, but this is kind of this unique one on the Commodore itself. The thing that makes this different in terms of Isabella's collection is the fact actually its overall depth. So what we here is a 3-metre depth awning, so the Commodore's 3 metres deep. If you want something a bit shorter, have a look at the Ambassador, which is the same near enough in every single way, just the fact it's 2.5 deep. So why buy Isabella? First and foremost, the main thing to think about is generally the quality. You very much pay for what you get. It's almost a Rolls Royce of kind of the awning world in a way. What you find is that the breathability of the fabric on certain of the sides, but also the longevity and durability of it, and it's the fine details that really do make Isabella Isabella. So if we talk down to the baselines, things like the material to start with. So material here, we've got a 295 gram, basically isocryl fabric, so it's an acrylic fabric, and it's then coated on the roof section. So we've got great breathability, but first and foremost, it's actually the way the material is really woven. You can see the fine details of the fabric, the way it feels, the way it, just generally looks is premium, and it all reflects that throughout the whole of the awning. What you also see is when people have Isabellas, is the longevity of the lifespan of it. You find that you don't get that same level of fading you would with kind of an alternative brand. This is the reason it's the way they dye the materials. So what Isabella do essentially is dye the thread of the yarn before it's woven into the material. So what you find is that you get better colour retention. The best way I can probably sort of describe this is the difference between, say, a carrot and then a radish. Your carrot being your sort of Isabella, when you cut it in half, you have the colour all the way through. So that way, when you have along sort of when the sun comes on it, what happens is it starts to strip that outer coating. So the UV basically breaks the material down, and you have that colour all the way through. In comparison to how you would do it alternatively in kind of the radish scenario, which most brands will kind of do, just because it's a bit more of an inexpensive way of doing it, is that you have that sort of white inside. So as you strip that outer colour out, you have the pure white of the inside. So that's where it looks tired and fading. That's when you get Isabellas that can look 10 years old, but still look fresh as anything. And certainly if you compare it to, say, other brands after a second year, you can really see the difference. So you're not just paying for an awning to look this great at the start. It's something that, 10 years down the line, that's the thing with Isabella, the way it's made and manufactured, you couldn't expect the lifespan of sort of 10 years, and that's what I would probably definitely define it as a true seasonal awning. Whereas other brands, for example, they maybe call it seasonal, but you might get 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years. Whereas this, it's definitely more investment, and it does reflect in the price, but you pay for what you get. It's available in two colours, so we've got it in kind of the North with me today, but it's also available in kind of a Dawn, and we'll kind of show you the colour of that in just a bit later on in the video when we have a little bit of a look round. So it's as positioned here, so this is the front, by the way. We've also got the Atlas canopy, so ignore this for the time being. That's the front of the actual awning. This is an optional extra you can add on to it. It's about 2 meters depth, and you can have a matching frame to go inside of here. There are 3 frames available with the Commodore, so you can either go for the standard Xerox, which is basically a 26mm steel frame. You then opt for the carbon frame, it's about 28mm carbon frame, or then you can go for the mega frame, which is again steel. Much bulkier, I think it's about 34mm, so it's a real beefed up version, and arguably even though you can use it for seasonal use, you can use it for touring. There's no reason you can, it's just a case of appreciated. It's a bit more of a lump to go for. Generally, if you're kind of opting for a seasonal pitch, you can get away with the normal Xerox, which is the standard frame which they start with. But I think from memory, there's only maybe about £400 or £500 between that and essentially the mega frame. Obviously, prices do vary, so it's important that you can always look at that as a little bit extra, just to give that extra thing. And if you leave it up all year long, my preference tends to be the mega frame personally. Other things is the fine details of the way Isabella manufacture the awning itself. So if we look at, say, like the roof section, it's very cleanly done, and what they actually do is all of the roof seams are triple folded and double stitched just to make sure you get a really tight lock grip. There's no kind of actual taping on the actual seams, just because they don't need to, due to the sort of tightness of the weave and the preciseness of the stitching. Generally, when it sort of gets wet, it swells and plumps up and it seals itself really quite nice and neatly. There's a range of sizes depending on obviously how big, and because it's a falling awning, it goes all the way around top of the, up one side of the caravan, along the roof and down the other side, so it fits perfectly, so you have that seal against the whole awning itself. And obviously, depending on which size you go for, depends on how big kind of the panels be, but so that depth of 3 meters is always the same regardless. On the side panels, which you can probably just see from the camera where we're looking here, you have got this kind of setup where there is a sort of door one side and then a big nice window the other. The window itself has mesh built onto it, so you can actually roll this main kind of window up. And then it zips not only along the side but along the bottom, so you get a proper seal as well. And then the door, again, you can roll that back quite nicely, so you have an entrance. And the panel on this side is interchangeable with the panel on the other side, so you can reposition that door towards the back if you really wanted to. And we'll get a bit closer later on in the video about how they've took up that extra bit. The annexes are the same regardless for the Commodore or the Ambassador, so it's basically kind of a 250 annex, so it's a good size annex. And that way, it doesn't matter if you change awnings or you can have it on either side. Basically, Isabella have designed one annex that fits majority of their kind of models itself. Admittedly, you just kind of choose the colour, and we've got an annex actually positioned which will bring the cam round a bit later on. Other key features that we talked about it's just the things like the detail on the stitching. So we've got a nice little trim there to keep it nice and easily. We've got a full canopy that goes all the way down to the bottom, so that way you've got a proper nice solid canopy. Poles come out and actually go across on along the top as well, so you've got ultimate stability. With Isabella, what they always do is they lock the frame in with the actual canvas itself. They do this in 2 ways. So you have a little spike at the top here, and then what they have is their regulation tabs down the bottom here. So that way you have 2 in points where you've got it physically kind of secured in. The reason it's important is because then you don't have any movement in terms of the fabric or the frame. It's combined together, so again adds additional strength. And in the framework itself, all the joints are preset. So there's no hinges, there's no flexibility. Again, it's all about sort of structural stability. You can of course add additional typhoon straps to come out the side here as well, if you wanted to give extra guide points. And there are additional guide points located pretty much all the way around the awning. On the bottom panels, if you really want to tie it down, the Isabella got a really nice, easy fix system. So the parts here are basically elasticated, can be easily replaced. You can pop them on and tie them on. That way you've got a little bit of give. So that again, if you've got that kind of windier weather, it's not suddenly just taking an absolute battering. There's a little bit more play in there as well. All of the seams on the inside, for example, where the poles are, there's actually additional bit of material. So they've reinforced it on every single section. Again, it's just on about sort of wear and tear and getting that longevity out of the awning itself. And what Isabella again do to a testament to kind of the detail orientation that they are, they don't have more conventional sizes. So you don't find you have a size 15, 16, 17, 18 with Isabella. They have their own size brackets, basically to really pinpoint and refine it. And they've got an on-site manufacturing place in the UK. So if, for example, you get given you choose and pick the right size, but it doesn't fit your van properly, Isabella have the ability that we can just take it back, amend it so it looks bang on, really it's brand new, and that way it fits every time, whether they need to add panels or sort of take panels out. So the benefit again is that fine details, that aftercare is kind of why personally as a brand we do really love Isabella itself. All of these zips that are located on it are actually tooth counted as well. So again, it's down to testament of small details if they want to make sure that every single zip is exactly the right teeth. So if for any reason you need to change a panel or a zip, they know exactly the same lengths, how many teeth are in it, and make sure it all goes smoothly. And what you have here is actually what we call spiral chain zips. So for me, I find they're actually much easier when you've got tension underneath them, and they're more robust as well. So again, it's a really nice sort of additional feature with kind of Isabella itself. I'll tell you what, let's bring the camera inside and talk through a load more features that the Commodore has to offer. So now we're inside the Commodore, you can probably appreciate for the overall space, and I think that the first thing to really sort of feel is with that extra sort of half metre depth in comparison to that normal awning, you really are a good away from the van itself. So especially if you're sort of your habitation door to the vehicle is centralised, even with a really nice table and chair set as we've got here, you've got tons of room, and that's where you get that half metre. So the 3 metre depths really does make it really quite boastful. plenty of space, and obviously depends on the width and how long it's going to be. So I think that works really quite nicely. In terms of that depth, the way it's done, like I said, is if we look at the side panel, admittedly we've got the annex in place here, and we'll sort of pan around later in the video to get a better view of that kind of side profile, but they put an extra ½ metre on the back section here, and then you've got kind of a clouded window, so you've got a bit of light, but also there's no visibility into it. But that's how it works quite nicely, and actually I think I prefer that way because it means everything's further forward. Again, if you have a habitational door here, you're not suddenly having to go out of the annex part itself, so I think that works really quite smartly. Now, to give you an idea what we've got is, currently we've got the carbon frame on display. That gives you an idea of kind of the standard Xenox, and we saw the mega frame from the outside. So all of them have different kind of clamping systems. So with the standard Xenox frame, you have what they call a T-Rex clamp, very nice and easily. You have a similar kind of clamp with the sort of carbon frame, and then the mega frame has sort of 2 wing nuts that you kind of push in, so it's really quite strong. And you still have your kind of fix-ons, so it's their ability of actually the poles go into the parts, lock into there, and then you get great sort of tension. And I would probably recommend they do basically an adjuster, I'm pretty sure it's called a Hercules adjuster, which helps to really get the extra tension into the awning, and I would definitely recommend one of those with every kind of awning itself. You see from here is obviously the amount of headroom height in here, really quite nice and spacious, and actually in terms of the fabric and the feel, and it's one of the things I think you can't really appreciate sort of through videos or online, is just the material and the quality that you get with kind of an Isabella. Even sort of little touches, things like the curtains, for example, they're on little kind of little slider runners, so it's very easy to just nip the curtain off. So when you want to sort of take it away or whatever and pack it away, really quite simple and easily to do so. It's a bit of a pain to put on first of all. Once you've kind of done it once, then you're pretty much good to go. Even things like all the pegging points on the bottom are kite stitched, so again it's a really strong stitching point. Everything's like reinforced, so as I mentioned on the outside, every single part has an extra sleeve located behind it, just to make sure wherever there's contact from the pole to the material, you haven't got any rubbing, and again, be it locked into the frame, you're not going to kind of get that same kind of torsion. You get a veranda pole, a standard veranda pole included with kind of the Commodore. You can obviously buy additional extras, and there's a range of extras you can obviously add to your sort of awning itself, be it things like roof linings, obviously a range of floorings. You've also got annexes, so the annex itself can fit on either side, and bedrooms additionally, or you would add on sort of as an extra, but great for use of storage space, for sleeping space, depending on what you want to kind of do with it really. And what you can also do is the panel itself, you can still put the panel back in. So that way if you don't want to necessarily see the annex, and again if you want it for more storage purposes, you can literally zip that back in. It's all neat and tidy, and then you haven't got to kind of worry about it itself. Around the bottom of all of the panels are kind of a really nice PVC mud skirt, so it's really strong stability, easy to clean as well, but again it's all about sort of longevity and keeping it really nice and smart. Other things to mention is just how seamless that roof section is. It looks really quite smart. All the curtains I think come supplied with the actual awning itself. You also get a draft skirt standard as well, and again, like I said, the veranda poles can not only go from in the front section, but you can alter them so they can go sort of front to back, or you can actually buy them additionally. But I'll tell you what, let's kind of actually get a bit more up close and personal and talk through, sort of get a bit closer to some of the extras we've got on the Commodore. So, okay. So yeah, first thing we're going to do is probably say look at this annex a bit more in depth. It comes out around about sort of 1.5 meters, but a nice additional extra, something a bit different that you can also look to add on to the awning itself. You've got the panels, like I said, that's sort of like a slightly cloudy part, so you can't really see through it, but it adds a little bit more natural light. And then you've got your additional kind of corner pieces, so this is designed that if your awning is not dead straight, or you want to kind of wrap it around to stop the draft coming in, that also works really quite nicely as well. On the side panels, which I've admittedly kind of butchered, you can see kind of the door itself here. So you've got your door section, so you can enter and come through that, and like I said, it depends on whether you have that panel in that side or that side, depending on when the doors could be kind of at sort of the back of the awning or ideally towards the front. But even we'll come and get close to some of these zips, oversized zip pullers as well. works really nicely. So really quite smart, and like I say, even when you've got tension points, works really smartly again. And then we're talking about that extra sleeve. There you go, that's the reinforcement points that's located there as well. And even in the corners, extra patchings located in the top. Like I say, it's the fabric you really pay for on top of the workmanship, but even the reinforcements on the corner points here and the tough counter zips look really smart as well. And the runners we've got located on there, so there's little kind of tracks, so you just kind of pop them in when you need to, and they run and keep. And also what you find is, because you've got a completely flat front panel, generally things kind of keep all nice and tightly to there. And it's again, it's the reinforcement points down the bottom, so these are all sort of kite stitched, reinforced and nice strong fabric. PVC rail skirt as well, like I said, and there's also holes in there, so you can actually pop it down quite nice and neatly. But it's just the natural feel of it. You've got additional sort of carriers and straps and that sort of you can add to it as well. And as we kind of look out the canopy, so you can't really see it actually because we've got the Atlantis in here, the Atlas canopy, but again it's a full kind of canopy, but looks really quite smart. And then we've got the annex sort of situated. So that is kind of the, I said, the Commodore itself. We've got the North fabric there, but if you wanted it in kind of door material, your colour scheme is going to look like this. So that is the Ambassador. So you can also see the difference, for example, between the side panels. Side panels here, you've got a centralised door, and then sort of mini doors on either side. Whereas with the Commodore, it's sort of a bigger kind of window panel with full mesh, and then also a bigger kind of door in it as well. Also, you have this special kind of Isabella kind of system where you have these little parts where you can feed a beading directly through there, and you can actually add things like a little mini canopy onto it or accessory, so you can actually have almost like a little mini door coming off the side door, so you can position it directly over. Let's just try and see if I've got one lurking around somewhere, but I think it's so how well it sits. And one thing is, once you buy kind of Isabella, you don't really go back to anything else. So again, when you've got the annex in place, you've still got that kind of window, and you've got the classic kind of Isabella porthole as well. Now, it's models that we kind of do our best to kind of get directly in. Also mentioned mesh vents at the front here as well for ventilation, but even when you just feel the fabric of kind of the vent itself, how smartly it looks. And Isabella do a really good job of kind of positioning everything in the showroom really quite smartly. This is one model actually we semi kind of have in our showroom. So in our showroom we've got a whole Isabella dedicated area with around about sort of 9 models on display, so a really good selection. But you can get a feel for certainly the depths of fabrics and everything at our showroom if you wanted to see it in the flesh. But yeah, all in all, really love it. It's the attention to detail I do love. I think it's the small details that just add up to make something massive. The way that stitching is done, the way the fabric is made, the way that it's all put together, the frames, how it locks in. Yeah, again, like I say, if you want to buy it once, then buy it right. And for me, I think you kind of buy Isabella. And it can be altered over the years as well. For more information, of course, feel free to check the link below this video, take you through to kind of the product on our website, where we have all the things about pricing, features, individual parts, as well as obviously other videos we have on kind of full awnings as well. But if you want to see more of the range, you can check out our Isabella range video we've done as well, so that's always worth a look. But all in all, lots of talking points, great to see. And feel free to let us know in the comments box below if you have any more questions or queries. But all in all, that is our video review on the Isabella Commodore, of course, in both the North fabric and the Dawn, so the blue and kind of the grey.